Hello, folks. Welcome to the next match in the Timespinner 2v2 tournament. I am Jim the Eternal. Joining me in the booth and running the stream is SEZ. Say hello.
Hello, you're on my channel.
Perfect. Thank you. You've done exactly what I wanted you to. So we have a banger of a match coming up for you folks. We have Deity Runners, or Deity... I've already forgotten the team names. I'm very good at this.
Deity Delivery.
Versus Hundo Runners. We have Batty Mass, Index, and Tonberry James versus Warehouse Jesus and Lord Raiden. So I'm really excited for this match. I'm also really excited to be on comms for this match. This is my first opportunity doing commentary for this tournament so far, and I'm really impressed with how the tournament's been going. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. There's a lot of possibilities. As you can see in front of you, there is a whole list of possible flag changes for any of the given slots. But player 1 on both sides, the top slot, will have the same seed as each other. And player 2, the bottom slot on both sides, will have the same seed as each other. So each team will be racing on the same seed as the other team. But what they're racing, what flags they'll get, is in some ways random, which is just really, really exciting for the idea of a race. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what's going on. Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to seeing here, Zed?
I would love to see a pyramid start. It's a 5% chance on either runner, and we haven't seen one yet. And, you know, the odds are low, but they're not zero, so...
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of low odd flags that could show up here. Pyramid start, definitely one of them. Specific key cards or dad percent may be the most impactful of the low odds chance for something to happen. So if specific key cards is turned off, there's like a 10% chance. That means that having a high enough key card will unlock all of the doors for you, which is just a wild amount of progression that you can get by getting an A or B key card without realizing it. And then dad percent just completely changes your win condition. And as you can see, it's like a 5% chance versus a 95% chance to have Enter Sandman, or to have the normal pyramid true ending condition. And that also just wildly changes what your progression looks like and the kinds of things that you need to keep track of in order to get yourself to your clear. So I'm really excited to see what our runners are going to be looking for and how they're keeping aware of what's going on. Question from chat, how do you know whether it's dad percent? So the tracker that is built into the randomizer, obviously very good tracker, also keeps track of that. Whatever your win condition, either the true ending or dad percent, the room that the boss is located in will flash a subtle green.
Yeah.
So you can see which victory condition you have. The tracker actually does a lot of work in terms of letting you know what's available, and in some cases letting you know what your flags are, because you can see sort of, oh, I have this thing in logic, I don't have this thing in logic, right? Like if you get the A key card and you check your tracker and you can see that areas of the present past the library, which normally requires a D key card to escape, is in logic, that tells you whether or not you have the specific flag set without needing to go try the door yourself. So there's a lot of really cool tricks that an aware runner can use in order to tell what they have available, what they don't.
All right, and our runners are ready. So,
oh, excellent.
I have just left. We've got the countdown.
Super good. So we have Batty Mass and Lord Raiden on the top. Those are going to be the player 1 for both teams, which started either in the present or with the low chance of pyramid start. And Tonberry James and Warehouse Jesus on the bottom, with also the low chance for pyramid start, but otherwise starting in the past, in inverted start. And we are immediately into it. So let's see what we got.
Ooh, a Blade Plus for our player 2s.
Blade Plus, nice. Looking very cool. And Iron on top, is that neutral Iron?
Yeah, Iron neutral and a Frozen Spires minus. That's sad. I like that spell.
Yeah. Frozen Spires is definitely one of those spells that creeps up on you. It's quietly one of the better damage spells in the game for boss fights. Well, for specific boss fights. Yeah, very powerful for sure. It's a shame to see it at minus. All right, so we're not going to have to worry about a keyless seed for for any of our players, actually, now that I look at it. We had Batty checking his warp room near the start, and Tonberry also checking his warp room near the start. And
We've
both
already
of them
located a
seeing the
key
ability to
card
warp.
A for our present runners, the player ones. So they already have access to the Zerion caves, which I'm sure they're all very happy about.
Oh yeah, I love
being one of the later game areas.
That is potentially rough. And looks like we have Bombardment Plus available for our player 2s, which is
Yeah, I don't think
really
our player
cool.
2s are going to struggle for damage. Blade, not one of the best orbs, but Blade Plus is more than serviceable. Combine
Yeah,
that with a
solid.
Bombardment Plus, and you've got coverage on just about anything.
Yeah, it's definitely enough to get some kills early on, and once you get a little bit of experience under your belt, almost anything will work. So they're in a good place. And we are seeing the results of Enemy Rando, the Randomizer feature on the top players, our player 1 slot. So they are going to have some really interesting pathing to work with. You tend to get into a kind of habit in avoiding certain enemies and movement patterns that let you, duck or dodge certain enemies. So enemy randomizer will definitely kind of mess with your muscle memory. So this should also be pretty interesting.
That was a captain's cap that the player 2s are going to collect here. Very good head equipment. Good defense. I believe it also gives a bit of damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the better early game pieces of equipment. It's I think better than the Valetian Crown, which is otherwise also one of the better pieces of equipment.
Yeah,
and then
it's better than
behind,
the non-Empire crowns as far as like just
Empire
pure
and Eternal.
damage. But those crowns do have additional effects. Like I'm pretty sure if we saw the Felician crown, that they'd go for that, considering that it increases that aura regen, and we do have that bombardment plus.
Yeah, there's definitely some spells that they're gonna want to be using.
Ooh, that is gatekeep. That drawbridge is up, unless I missed them going and putting it up, but I don't believe I did. Yes, the central trackers are the player 1 trackers, the outside trackers are the player 2 trackers. I'm gonna be working on making that look nicer in the future.
Elevator key card for our player 2 as well, once they get back into the present.
Very nice. That was at the end of the Sirens, I believe.
Yes.
Ooh, enabling
followed
gifting.
by the warp.
Gifting is a fun feature. Allows our runners to send items to each other. Not major items, but like sometimes you just don't need your hat anymore. Give it to your friend.
Equipment and consumables. And we've seen some of the other racers use this to really good effect, like swapping a single piece of important gear between the two of them based on whoever needs it most at the time. And that can be really impactful.
Yes. I've done a practice run with my teammate, Wef Jebster, where I got a random, I think it was a Chaos Stole drop, and he was not all minuses, but had a very low damage start, and was going through Zerion caves, so getting that Chaos Stole to just boost damage a little bit more really helps.
We have our first Timespinner piece available for our runners.
Ooh, that is a Time-Worn Warp Beacon to our player 1s at the Lake Serene, which is unflooded.
So that potentially gives them a little bit more freedom. Did you see where it warps to?
I did not. It looks to be pretty central. If I just saw Batty's map check. A lot of access just from like the central regions.
All right, well, good enough. But yeah, we have our first Timespinner piece available for our player 1s. Timespinner gear looks like 2. So just as a reminder for people who aren't familiar, you need, if your seed is on a true ending victory condition, you need to get all 5 pieces of the Timespinner, the wheel, the spindle, and 3 gears, and then make your way to the Ancient Pyramid somehow in order to kill the final 2 bosses, whatever 2 bosses are in those locations.
Okay, that time-worn warp took you to Castle Ramparts.
Oh, that's
And
pretty good.
yes, that is very nice. And I believe our player ones just found an Empire Plus orb in Backer Room, or at least
as
close
well as a
to
water
it.
mask. So a lot of progression coming up for the player ones.
Yep, lots of things to do, and now they've got good damage to do it, since that
Which is
Empire
really
is
good.
plus.
The player 1 slot is sort of more easily BKable in this context. It is easier to run out of checks without getting appropriate progression, whereas the player 2 slot starting in the past kind of has a few more places to go before they run out of things to do without any other progression. So it's always helpful as a player 1 to find something useful early on that gives you a place to go.
Oh, and there's a water mask for our player 2s.
And we're seeing gatekeep on for the player 1s as well. So for both halves of the seed, that means that they're going to need either vertical or a drawbridge key to get into the castle. And it also means that the pink room, the Yas Queen checks, is going to be prioritized. So that is a automatic source of 4 progression items for the teams.
Yes, since they both have it. 2 items in that room, 2 seeds. So they will be heading there as soon as they have pink. Well, and vertical or that drawbridge key. Our player 2s already have it. Well, they know where it is. They already have a light wall.
We are already seeing
And
both
there
of
it
our
is.
player 2s now in their Azure Queen fight, today played by Nightmare. Nightmare, not that hard a boss when you're not taking infinite damage. Once you know the patterns, it's pretty easy to cruise on through. And
Yep.
Lightwall, a very powerful tool against him.
Unfortunately, it is light wall minus, so it's doing less than fun damage.
And a
But,
rough death for Tomberry James. Fortunately, there was a save point right in front of that boss fight, so not too big a time loss here.
We've got a lot of HP. Ooh, that was a warp into the Royal Towers.
That's actually really helpful. So that's another way to get past that drawbridge.
Yep, they do already have a way past. They both have light wall, but it is a much faster way past.
Definitely. And Plasma Plus showing up for Warehouse Jesus. Okay, that's going to be
the
resolution for all of their damage woes.
Plasma Plus is a lot of damage.
Yeah, and the immediate menu in order to equip it.
Hey, you want to know something? Our player ones did not start with the jewelry box. If you look at their HUD, there is no indicator on which slot of the jewelry box they are on because they don't have it. No orb swapping for them. The DPS is low.
Yeah, the jewelry box is something that enables you to swap between loadouts. And peculiar to the way that this game is coded, if you swap to a loadout that is different from the one that you currently are on, it also resets the cooldown for your loadout. So you can swap to and then back, and then quickly launch off a otherwise high cooldown attack. So it's a very powerful technique in boss fights.
Yep.
But not something our player ones have access to at the moment.
Player 2's Yas Queen room had the Succubus hairpin for player 1 and their own Timespinner wheel. So they're looking pretty good for movement all around.
That is a solid room, and a good taking advantage immediately of that plasma that they picked up. Warehouse Jesus struggling to make this climb with Lightwall alone, and deciding not worth it.
Not worth it with no aura recovery. Just we'll come back later.
It's a tough place to be for sure. Tomberry James just absolutely cleaning up the castle with that Plasma Plus. Going through this area and just demolishing enemies. This is going to be really effective for experience gain and for powering up his orbs. He is going to be a powerhouse once he starts getting to some of the late game areas.
At some point, I missed it where it was. Our player ones have their drawbridge key. They can get in.
Do they both have it at this point?
Yes.
Yes, they
it's
both
that
picked
diamond
it up. Okay.
On the tracker.
Yep. And looks like we have some additional security key cards passing back and forth. We have the security keycard C being handed to Tonberry James. So yet another bonus once he makes it into the present. But at the moment, still a lot in the past to do. So I think he's not particularly concerned about those progressions. Not going into the hidden room in the basement. I wonder if this is just a bad habit from
the most recent tournament.
For the most recent tournament, yeah.
Entirely possible.
Oculus is required. But we'll see whether or not that comes back to bite him.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully
that would
not.
be rather unfortunate.
So taking advantage of that Royal Tower Warp, Tonberry James now heading over to fight against his Golden Idol location, probably.
Yep. Would look to be it. Normally you could preview Jesus that item, but with the 50% chance that it shows up as a entirely unidentifiable item, people have just been sending it. Ooh, Evolution Crown drop off of, I think that was an Advisor?
That's pretty nice. So we have both of our player ones now moving into their past. Lord Raiden heading over towards the right side from the refugee camp. Batimas Index, meanwhile, heading towards the left side towards Lake Serene.
Yep.
So we're having some big splits on both sides. This is a lot to keep track of. But Timespinner gear number 1 found for Batimas Index. So that's 2 of the 5 pieces now. And also the wheel for Tonberry James. So 1 of the 5 pieces there.
Yep. That wheel was in the Yas Queen room, which we know is a priority location. So.
Yeah, so with the split, we actually see 3 out of 10 for Timespinner pieces on Hundo Runners, and only 1 on Deity Delivery side. So we'll have to see whether or not that ends up making much of a difference.
Yep, Warehouse Jesus just has not made their way to the castle just yet with that light wall. And no, they do have the warp. So they can warp in as well. They just need to finish up what they're doing here in Maw Caves first.
And there's the wheel for Batimas Index. The pieces just keep on coming. So 4 on the left side versus just the 1 on the right.
Ooh, and player 1's light wall in the, again, unflooded Lake Serene.
Did we see whether or not it was
plus
or minus
neutral.
or anything? Neutral light wall. Okay. Well, better than minus. Not as good as plus, obviously. But light wall, as we mentioned before, one of the more powerful tools for certain boss fights. Taking advantage of that wheel in order to get up to a somewhat difficult to get to check. Not a huge reward, but every check is important. And the reason for that is hinting is a feature that is enabled because we are using the Archipelago system for all of the setup. What that means is each check contributes a hint point, and once you have sufficient hint points, you can use those to either get the contents of a location or get the location of an item that you're looking for. I believe the way the system is set up, it requires 15% of your total checks for any given hint, which means that anywhere between 29 and 32 checks required for a hint.
33 if you get Pyramid Start. So 29 at the lowest end, which means no gyro locations. I think that's the only other one that increases checks. Oh, there's the jewelry box.
Yeah,
flooded in sirens.
Box. Yep. So that'll be helpful for Lord Raiden. Batimas seems like he's doing fine so far. We're going to see how he deals with his Azure Queen location.
Batty will more than likely be fine.
Yeah, I think.
However.
And also, the Maw's not a hard fight.
However, Batty, you should know this. The Maw resists fire.
Yeah,
just punch him in the jaw.
There you go. Big hits.
Oh, Eye Orb. Ooh, Plasma. That is pink for our player 1s. Now they can access their Yas Queen room, which, as we mentioned earlier, has 2 priority locations.
And that'll be once Battymass decides to go over to the castle. I think right now we still have that big split with Battymass Index going to the left side and Lord Raiden at this point bailing from the castle and checking out the Lake Serene area as
Ooh.
well. So following in Battymass's footsteps.
Interesting hint from Batty. Batty hinted the mysterious warp beacon only to find out it does not exist. So there is no Enter Sandman for player 1. They will not get a free warp into the pyramid. They have to go through the lab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is actually a really helpful hint. This tells our runner kind of what their path needs to be for the rest of the game, right? It means that they are required to get to the lab, so killing the bosses in the past is probably going to be relevant. Since we haven't seen any laser accesses yet, it implies that the prison break flag isn't turned on.
Yes.
So they'll have to kill whoever is at the Elana, Golden Idol, and Maw locations in order to get to their lab.
Yes, this is really a game about execution and information. You can route as well as you want, but if you have the information, you're going to be routing so much better. Batty knows that they need to clear through the lab, so they're going to be prioritizing things that get them through there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the information management aspect of playing on Archipelago is very different from something that we've seen in previous Timespinner tournaments. Maybe a different skill set, but no less important for all of that.
Absolutely. The addition of hints just allows you to make informed decisions, which is massive when it comes to Randomizer, because the entire point is that you don't know what's going on. Once you know what's going on, it changes the game. As we see a Celestial Sash from Jack's Jackpot Room.
Mm-hmm. So that is all of the vertical for Tonberry James as well. We don't have a sash for Battymass, but with double jump and light wall, they're cruising fine. They're going to be able to get anywhere they need to.
Yep, Hundo Runners both have infinite vertical.
Mm-hmm.
So they are sitting
Deity
pretty.
Delivery still on single jump light wall for the both of them, which is infinite but is slow and resource intensive.
Yes.
As I say that, the succubus hairpin shows up for Lord Raiden.
Yep. Warehouse Jesus finally making their way to the Yas Queen room.
Mm-hmm. Battymass on his way to the Maw fight, knowing that it is likely required. This is a very sensible routing choice to head into the Maw caves here.
Oh, and they do already have the gas mask. I was gonna say,
Mm-hmm.
it would put Lake Desolation into the gaseous state, but they have the gas mask, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think this actually puts Battymass in a pretty significant advantage over his counterpart, Lord Raiden. I see that the Deity Delivery team has caught up on Timespinner pieces, so we're now at 4-4 on both sides.
Yep,
Tonberry James actually checking out the pyramid, so using that pyramid warp
using that
to see what kind of
pyramid
items he's getting. Maybe taking the opportunity to move along towards the other end of the pyramid now that he has infinite vertical. There's also a couple of checks in there, and they could be relevant progression.
As people that have qualified for previous tournaments will tell you, there could be required items in the pyramid. And it has definitely not burned any of us ever.
That qualifier seed is part of the shared trauma of the entire Timespinner community.
We always get to bring it up. It's somehow always relevant.
And a unflooded regret check here for Tonberry James.
With Sash, is it really that regretful?
So
not when you find Plasma Geyser Plus in there.
You don't have to regret. Sometimes you can just appreciate. Jesus in the middle of
laser access.
I'm not sure which boss fight this is. Is this Cantorin?
That was the
Golden
Idol location. Our player
it looks like a pretty rough dad like.
Our player 2s have lasers. They are on prison break.
So they are. Wow, our first laser of the seed at 20 minutes. All right, fair enough.
You know, just a little bit of the way through the seed.
And the Celestial Sash coming in for Warehouse Jesus as well. So that is now sort of progression parity between James and Jesus. We're seeing Battymass heading into the castle for the first time, kind of following in Lord Raiden's earlier footsteps. Meanwhile, Lord Raiden heading towards the Maw, so going through the Maw caves and likely to kill the Maw fairly soon, much as Battymass has already.
Yep, there was a Timespinner Gear 1 at some point in the castle. The castle ramparts. So we are 5 of 10.
So that's something that Lord Raiden hasn't found yet. So maybe Lord Raiden hasn't made his way all the way through the castle. I think he probably stopped at the drawbridge and then started following Battymass to the left. So Battymass pretty far ahead in terms of how far the past has been explored.
Yes.
James and Jesus, meanwhile, split a long time ago, so kind of hard to gauge.
It is surprisingly hard to gauge which team is ahead until hints start coming out.
Hundo Runners definitely has the slight Timespinner piece advantage, 5 versus 4, but depending on
movement-wise and access-wise, they're pretty the same.
Yeah, they're pretty close. They're pretty on par. I don't think we're seeing any significant combat advantage on one side or another either. So
no,
this is still anybody's race.
Both runners have pretty decent plus orbs. I plus for our player 1s, that Plasma plus for our player 2s.
We still haven't found the jewelry box for Battymass, though.
Yeah, Donberry James has not made their way back to the Siren Caves. It was a underwater check there.
Ooh, another unfortunate death for Tonberry James.
Oh no. How far back did that
I think this is just... Oh. That might have been Cantorin?
You might be right. That might have been Cantorin. Yes, it was Sandman, and Sandman was at Cantorin. So they shouldn't be too far back. They might have to go pick up a few local items
needing
again.
to go back and burn some of the vines. Some of their checks since then have been archipelago items. So that is actually saved across deaths. That's not something they're going to have to go back and get. But if they got anything for themselves that they needed, they're going to need to go back and get those things. And meanwhile, we are seeing Security Keycard B and the tablet out of the pink room for the player 1s. Bottom player's tablet, player 2's tablet.
Player 2 tablet, player 1 B card.
Yep. So the player 1 B card is absolutely going to be relevant.
Yes,
we know that player 1 needs to go to the lab.
The present. Yes.
Yep.
They need to go to the lab. They already have access to the present. So that is immediately useful and, as we know, entirely required.
The tablet opens up a bunch of download checks in both the library and the lab in the present, but I don't think either James or Jesus has made it to the present yet.
Nope,
so,
we do not have the modern warp beacon or spindle, and we don't even know if the spindle will get them into the present.
Right? Yeah, only 50% chance that the spindle and wheel will get them present access. But we are seeing some water checks now. And that
water
is
checks. There was another Timespinner piece.
Gear 2. Yeah, Gear 2 in Tonberry James. Player 2's Gear 2 is in Player 1's Ilana's Courtyard area.
Modern warp beacon to Player 1 in a flooded check. Not what we wanted to see.
Yeah, Modern Warp Beacon doesn't do a whole lot when they already have access to a bunch of the modern area. Unless it is advanced enough that it is a shortcut to the lab, which I guess we'll see.
I don't think it can be.
There is a % chance for Risky Warp.
We were having issues with Risky Warps.
Oh, really? It got disabled?
Yeah. Last minute change. Okay. It got disabled, unfortunately.
So, I guess without Risky Warp, the deepest it could be is the military hangar?
Yes.
All right. So that still requires...
Yeah, so we do 100% need that B card that we found in Yas Queen Room.
Yeah, good to know. And we're also going to need to kill all of the laser bosses. That is guaranteed.
Unless we find an extremely late laser. The odds seem pretty low at this point for that, but, you know, they're never zero.
True, it's true. So Lord Raiden finally making his way into the castle here. This is looking to be about 3 to 4 minutes behind Batty Mass's progress. And we'll see how relevant that ends up being. But if you're looking purely at Timespinner piece progress, it is 6 on the left to 4 on the right. So Hundo Runners definitely has that advantage right now.
Yep, I believe Lord Raiden will be coming across the Gear 1 for Player 2 shortly in this upcoming room, maybe? I don't recall. Yes, shortly in this upcoming room, as you watch it pop up.
And no other hints sent out yet, so our players still flying blind, although they are at a position now where they have enough hint points to hint the remaining Timespinner pieces. So we'll probably see something like that coming up soon.
Yep, I would not be surprised to see Batty hint the remaining Timespinner pieces here shortly once they're done with their Royal Tower climb. I missed it. At some point, Tom Barry James has now located present access. That might have been behind Aelana, because they're not too far through just yet.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna scroll up and see if I can find exactly where that location was. Lake Serene.
Modern Warp Beacon.
Oh no, that's the other direction. It must have been something found a while ago. I think they've had their present access for a while and just haven't taken advantage of it.
Well, oh, they do. I am misreading the trackers. Yes, they both have modern access. Mm-hmm. The modern Warp Beacon. Sorry, I'm silly.
So yeah, so James heading to the present first ahead of Warehouse Jesus, and I'm not sure if that's indicative of having gotten more checks in the past, so nothing left to get, or if they're just fading some of the harder to get checks in lieu of.
I do believe they're fading some of those slower checks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're seeing Jesus go after stuff like Waterfall and some of the other sort of onesie twosie checks that are a little bit more out of the way and harder to get.
Laser access research to player 1 at Waterfall.
Okay.
That is lock key.
Yeah. So that is yet one more piece that we know is going to be required. And that actually might be why they've held off on hinting at this point. Because if they know in addition to the Timespinner, or if they're not sure if in addition to the Timespinner pieces, they require some laser access or some lab access laser, then waiting until you have enough hint points to hint everything at once is a solid strategy.
Yeah. Batty does have that lock key item, so they are aware. Which is maybe why it's being put off.
And we are seeing some hints out of Tom Barry James. We have him hinting his own Timespinner Gear 3, which is in the library. He's about to go pick it up.
Yep. It's in their own library, right there.
And that is all 5 pieces for Tom Barry James. Wow. That is... So
this is going to be an incredibly fast goal.
Mm-hmm.
There is no release.
And he already has access to the... Ooh, wow. He already has access to the pyramid. So he's in go mode. That's it.
Yeah, there's no release. So they're finishing their seed and going to get right back in. But since it is a average finish time, that means that Hundo's runner's time is going to be counting for half as much as Deity Delivery's will.
Yeah, and apparently just a completely rewarded decision to go into the present
sooner
than Warehouse Jesus decided to.
Their last wheel and spindle. Deity Delivery is missing that library keycard D, which I think was in Lake Desolation for player 2. So I think they will find it, but just a little bit quicker. Tonberry James is done in 30 minutes and 42 seconds on race time.
What an incredible seed.
So, they are done. They have to get back in there. There's no release.
Yeah, so if they have any more items that Batty Mass needs in their seed, they have to go get them manually. You cannot just release it because you finished. But it seems like Batty Mass feels like he's in go mode.
Yeah, Batty is
just walking past checks.
Walking by boxes. Going to start hinting the remainder of their items.
We have a spindle hint, so he has
Timespinner we can get
spindle
that
in his own world, in Zarian caves, and his gear in his own world in a download in the lab. So he's going to need his tablet.
We're gonna need a tablet.
And tablet is in player 2's world. So this is something that James will have to go get
Jack's
for
squat room. Okay, that
for,
is
for Batty Mass.
that is behind the A card.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So James needs his A card, which he immediately hints. And
Lab.
Oh my god, it's behind Spider Hell in player 1's lab. So player 1 also needs their A card, which they have.
Yes, they have it. What a
that is
fun
full
chain.
That is all of the information they need in order to get Batty Mass into
yes, they are now in no
fight.
mode.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett, no, there is no release. Or no release, no collect. Sorry.
Yeah. So all items need to be found in order to be moved from one world to the next.
Wait, can Batty?
Yeah, with
can
full
Batty
mode, full no mode. Yeah, go ahead.
No, Batty can't get there. They need the dynamo. Floating modes.
Oh right. What about Lucky Amadeus?
Yes, I was like, wait. Do they have the key? No, they need the dynamo, which is. Hold on, I just saw that hint.
In player 2's moat.
Yeah, player 2's moat. Okay. We're back in no mode.
But that is some pieces that they're definitely going to need sooner rather than later, since he is already in his lab. And Lord Raiden still cruising through the castle. So now heading into Ilana's towers. We've been entirely focused on the Hundo Runners team just because they're so much further progressed. But Deity Delivery still in the game. Warehouse Jesus now has found his Gear 3. Has not found his spindle yet. I'm not exactly sure where that was.
So that is behind the security key card D, which is located in player 1's world at the Struggle Juggle location.
Okay, so because Lord Raiden hadn't quite got as far as Batty Mass Index by the time Warehouse Jesus made it to their library, that is something that may end up getting faded for a little bit longer.
Yeah. It could be rough for them, since Tonberry James was just able to sort of get all of their things seamlessly.
Yeah. Jesus, in the meantime, being fairly completionistic, is now going through the other parts of Desolation that he hadn't gotten while heading over to the library. Opting not to go into Zering. No A key card.
No A card for the player 2s just yet. That is at the Lab Spider Hell in player 1's.
Right.
And Genza, being really nice, giving player 1 their Celestial Sash. And there we go. Warehouse Jesus is in go. They need to go finish up and...
Well, we know.
No, they have all their pieces. They are in go.
Oh, they found it. Okay, yes. Okay, so they're going off to clear their game as well. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of hinting coming out for the other team as well. I think I missed when those hints occurred. But they have now found everything they've hinted for except for player 1's tablet, which is, as we already know, in player 2's Zarian Caves, rather.
Yeah. Wait. No, Batty doesn't have access to the lab spider hill? I'm still not
Because it's
super
the dynamo
familiar with
access. The,
the...
the dynamo access is the same laser. So he doesn't have the dynamo access, and that's not been found yet. Or not been gifted? It was hinted, right?
It was. I think? There's so much to keep track
They
of.
hinted for lab access research, which I'm not actually convinced that's the right lab access.
Yeah, Joaquin Amadeus is still relatively new.
Yeah,
I
I'm
wouldn't
not
know
super
which one
familiar
to
with all
hint
the-
either.
There's a lab access Genza. There's a lab access Dynamo. There's a lab access research. Isn't there a fourth lab access?
Yes, there are 4. Yes, there are 4.
And the only one I actually know where the location of it is Genza, because that is the laser that blocks the left side.
No,
when you
the
normally
last
turn
one is
power off.
Experiment, which only blocks Experiment.
Oh,
13.
experiment. Okay. Okay.
So... Oh. Batty has it. They did know which one they needed. They just hadn't grabbed it just yet.
Okay.
Deity Delivery. Warehouse Jesus just took an unfortunate death to... I believe this one is Prince Dad? No, Emperor Dad.
Does he have the more elaborate shoulder pads?
Yes, the more elaborate shoulder pads. Taken pretty big hits.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage out of this location for
It's
sure.
a lot of damage. Kind of unfortunate. Should be making better use of Time Stop. Time Stop obliterates the dad likes.
Time stop very helpful. With the power of Eye Orb, you can get a lot of extra damage out of orb swapping as well, and it seems like that's not something that Warehouse Jesus has decided to do. Tonberry James finally getting his A key card.
Yep.
So that means
Meanwhile,
he can get
Batty's
into
lab
his
is
Zarian
flooded.
caves.
I didn't notice that. That's funny. That key card A will let Tonberry James go and pick up the... I don't remember which piece it was.
Tablet?
It was
Tablet.
It was tablet.
The
right.
tablet. So that he can get his download.
Lots going on.
And Lord Raiden making his way to the lab at this point, although still a gear short of being in go mode. Believe the same gear
Yep.
that
is the same one that
that Batty Mass is missing.
yeah, that gear 3 on the download.
He doesn't have the tablet yet either, so that is going to wait for Warehouse Jesus to make it into Warehouse Jesus's Zarian caves.
Whereas Jesus is done with their first fight. Fortunately, the second fight is much easier. Doesn't matter how much HP Ifrit has, when you have an entire blind spot beneath you.
Yeah, this one little trick that Ifrits hate.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a bit of a slog, but there he goes. Now we're seeing some real damage with bombardment.
There we go. There's that spindle for Batty Mass Index, which was in their Zarion caves. As we see, Tonberry James is going to go pick up that tablet from their Zarion caves.
Yeah. So now we have full parity on Timespinner pieces, 9 for both teams. Warehouse Jesus now getting his win. So at 39 minutes, that is a 9-minute deficit that Lord Raiden is going to have to make up over Batty Mass.
Lord Raiden
So
needs to finish
That's going to be rough.
more than 9 minutes ahead of Batty Mass Index, which seems, for the lack of a
But the
better
two
word,
of them-
unlikely at this point.
Yeah, the two of them are in a very similar position right now, right?
Yes.
Deity Delivery.
They will likely
Lord
finish
Raiden.
very similarly. Unfortunately, with how slow it... Not slow, just due to the routing with Warehouse Jesus, just needed to make up more time.
And Batty Mass has his final gear slightly ahead of Lord Raiden now.
Yep.
Lord Raiden still trying to make it to the position that he needs to. Ooh, Lord Raiden, unfortunately, also unfamiliar with Locky Amadeus. You can't get anywhere through here because that dynamo door stays closed.
Oh, that's true. They're missing a handful of their Amadeus keys.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still that A card and a tablet away. Because Warehouse Jesus does not have their A card. And as we know,
Yes.
that last important item is on that download. As
Where
Batty
did
heads
the
into the pyramid.
Where did the A card come from for player 2?
That was the lab spider hell.
Oh, okay. And they don't even have access to that area yet because Lord Raiden doesn't have the right lab access key.
Correct. And I don't know which one it is. I think it's the dynamo.
I think it is the dynamo.
Whichever
Don't
one it
remember where
is,
that
they
particular
don't
item was.
have it, so they cannot get to that A card just yet.
Right.
As Batty
In the
is
meantime,
flying
making their
through
way
that
to
pyramid.
Genza, like that's a fight that they're going to need to do anyway. They're going to need to break time. They're going to need to kill Genza. So not a lot of time lost yet, but all of this time is time that Warehouse Jesus could be spending on going to Zarian Caves if they already had their A key card. So this is a pretty unfortunate situation for their team. And Batty Mass Index on his way to the final boss now. We're going to see a completion on his side as well momentarily.
Yes, and I think, again, just like how we saw on the previous race, this is just a difference in information.
Oh, that was such an unfortunate death for Raiden. That's so far back. So the entirety of the hangar is still unexplored for Raiden now.
They don't have their bosses killed.
They don't even have their bosses. Oh my god. They've
That
skipped
is-
so many saves, and they died on the Genza fight. Oh, that's so disheartening.
That is very unfortunate for them.
Well, I mean, the game was already not in question because Batty Mass had that significant advantage already, but this is just a insult to injury here.
Yes, that is a crushing death. Like they all have access to the race time room. They already knew that they were behind as far as that player 2 completion. And now they know. And now they know they are definitely behind on player 1.
Yeah, really behind. Now missing an extra time spinner piece, so they need to go get their spindle as well. And short
And that
on
is double
cards?
exclamation points for Hundo Runners. GG's. Batty Mass Index is done with a race time of 43:57, and that is Hundo Runners' victory.
It's honestly a very, very fast completion.
Yeah, this was
things lined up
impressive.
really well for Tonberry James. You know, that 30 minutes is wild. And then Batty Mass able to capitalize on hinting to get their items and a little bit more progression on James's side for their lab access, and able to put together that victory much quicker. I think the other team has also immediately forfeited.
Yeah, Raiden has forfeited, so we will see if we can't get them in to have a chat about just general thought processes, the insanity that was this seed. Because that was crazy.
So much to pay attention to. I hope I was able to keep chat appropriately updated on what was going on, and Lord knows I'm sure I missed some details. But just a really great, honestly a really great performance from both teams. There were some unfortunate deaths for sure, and the tiny differences in routing, player 2 going a little bit slower or player 1, one of the players going a little bit slower so that when the other player made it to an area that needed a certain progression, they didn't have it or did have it, and that can make a huge difference.
Hello,
Hello.
Hundo Runners. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
Very good.
Very good. I could believe that. That
Yeah,
was
congratulations.
massively
Thanks.
impressive. I know I already said that in the race time room, but that was crazy.
We calmed down after the beginning, and then it was
I felt like garbage.
very comfortable after that.
Yeah, I saw you. I don't know if it was nerves or what, but you had some unfortunate deaths early on, Tonberry. But you quickly turned it around, right? A 30-minute seed is nothing to sneeze at.
Nothing to sneeze at all.
Why was there no jewelry box? My muscle memory was messing with me a lot.
No orb swapping for you. You may not
At
have
the end,
it.
I could do it again. That was nice.
Sometimes you need to remember what it's like to not be able to do it.
The
I'm gonna
other
see if
team
I
is
can
in
figure
voice
out
anger.
where the jewelry box was located because the other team found their jewelry box for player one relatively early.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
definitely Caves of Banishment in the water.
It certainly was Caves of Banishment in the water.
Yeah, you ended up fading a couple of the sort of harder to get or more esoteric past locations in order to kind of rush the present and get into the library, and that ended up serving you well since you had 2 pieces in the library, and that got you to go mode, about 8 minutes faster than Warehouse Jesus. But you certainly skipped some pieces that might have been helpful for Batty Mass.
Yeah, I went back for them eventually.
Yeah.
You know, while you were in the pyramid.
Yeah, full clearing the pyramid was something that I figured you might as well do it, even if it is regret.
Lord Raiden and Warehouse Jesus are on the call. GG's.
Yeah.
Yep.
GG's.
GG's. We were unfortunately missing keycard A, and definitely had some unfortunate deaths.
Yeah, that last death really sealed the deal, unfortunately.
We didn't go into this thinking we were gonna win, to be honest. Like, this is my first Timespinner tournament at all,
Oh,
so
I will
kinda
say, I think
saw-
you did pretty well for your first Timespinner tournament. There's a
Yeah,
couple of things
definitely.
that would be helpful to get a little bit more familiarity with, or maybe practice a couple of techniques. But I think you did really well for first time out.
I realized I should not have stayed in the past as long as I did.
Hmm.
Like, that was one thing. I definitely stayed in there to full clear it, and even though I had present access early on, I should have left a while ago.
It's one of those things that you can kind of only know in retrospect. Like, routing decisions you can't tell whether a routing decision is right or wrong when you're making it, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
you have to work with the information you have.
rando be rando is how.
It's very true.
how I
It's
always
Very, very true.
like
Um,
Raiden and I come
extremely
from
true.
Raiden and I come from Kingdom Hearts 2 community. Like,
Oh,
it's just kind of how it is.
that's fun.
I always think is sort of the completionistic approach that you made, Warehouse Jesus, as a more conservative approach versus sort of skipping some checks in order to rush to another area as maybe a more aggressive or riskier approach. It definitely paid off for Tom Brady James this time, but that's rando's gonna rando, right? Sometimes that's good,
Yeah.
sometimes that's bad.
Yeah.
I
always
like
will.
to think of checks per minute, especially since the hint cost is 15%.
Yeah.
So the more things I can get, the more hints I can throw out there to.
Yeah, it's generally why I went for check dense areas with my routing. Just so I can try to get as many hints as possible, but I only need a hint for one thing and I was already there for it, so.
I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, very true.
if I left earlier, then I was probably a little bit fine, but then I missed a few things that helped. Raiden.
That back and forth at the end in lab was interesting. Go in there to get a card, then go back to get tablet, and go there and then go mode. The
Yeah,
chain
there was a lot of
was
back and
interesting.
forth there at the end.
We were missing. What did you need, Raiden?
The
I should
Dynamo.
the tablet.
You needed
And that-
Dynamo
yeah,
to get a
to
card
get
for
the- yeah.
for player 2,
then get
so
my
they could get
tablet.
the tablet, so you could get your
Yep.
last gear.
But then I did not look at my HP for like the last 10 minutes. So
Yeah, that was.
I was just face tanking everything, and I didn't even pay attention. So yeah.
For the most part, it was working out for you. It's just at the very end. By that time, I think the winner was already decided. You were far enough behind that
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
not
yeah.
really
I
any
think
coming back.
we finished right after I died, so yeah, it wouldn't have mattered.
But it hurts so badly to take that death right where you did.
Oh well, losers run back. That's where we're at.
Losers
Yeah,
run
absolutely.
back.
So
You can
you
always
are
make a
definitely
comeback.
not out of the tournament.
Also, does this just not work the second time or something? Am I?
Does what not work the second time?
Oh, were you trying to?
Like I can't get back. I can't get back to the other side.
Well, anyway,
The hanger warp or something.
the hanger warp.
So you got military
Like the
hangar
military
warp
base?
and-
Yeah, that was interesting. I was about to hint for D card, and suddenly, oh, you can just go there.
Yeah, after his death, he's back trying to go through, and he can't get through now. After the
Is
death.
that because you don't have the bosses dead?
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe.
you didn't have
Because
Prison Break.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It was a long way from your
I died
save
like a
to your death.
long. Yeah, you're right. That makes sense.
Okay, there we go. Figured it out.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, Hundo Runners, or rather Deity Delivery, you are not out of the tournament. You are going into the second chance bracket, and you will face the loser of Godspeed You Pink Emperor versus Foxtails. Hundo Runners, you are moving into round 2 up against Twisted Sinners, which is Sin Pyro and PT. So that should be a pretty cool match.
That's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah. And in general, we just have a lot of tournaments still available. This is the 3rd match of the tournament, so a lot more to do in the near future. I know I have my team's match scheduled for May 7th, I think. This is Dead by Dadlike against the Friends of Middle East, who had a really, really great showing against Trash Island Soda Company in their round 1. So that should be a really good match too. And just a bunch more matches coming up in the near future.
lots of matches, plenty to see. Here's hoping we can get them all restreamed.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, definitely.
So, a couple of questions, if you don't mind, opposing teams. Hinting has been something that we've seen is very important so far in these tournaments. Is there any particular approach that you used towards hinting that you think kind of made the difference here?
I already forgot what I hinted for at the beginning.
Fortunately for you, I have tracker up. You
Yeah, I
hinted
think,
for
your first
spindle
hint
and
batting
gear 3.
Your first hint batting mass was for the Mysterious Warp Beacon, which was not present in your seed.
Ah, yeah, that is one of the things I usually do to see what the general approach of the seed is. And by not being there, we need need to go through lab, and that made routing easier.
Yeah,
So
that definitely
we just
streamlined.
continued going for checks, and
Yeah.
when it narrowed down what is missing, then hint for these things, and at least keep one hint for things that you need to get for the other player.
Yeah.
That is what.
Yeah,
there ended up being a really long chain of things that you needed in order to get to the Timespinner piece. So that was sounded like that worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah, it can definitely
just
be a
held off.
lot.
We chose to hold off on hinting until it was like, oh, we need a few pieces for go mode, just because moving through these seeds seems very quick, and picking up stuff. It's just like, if I hint this now, I waste 15%. Like, I waste one of 6 hints total that we're gonna get throughout the seed. So
Yeah,
it's like, I'm gonna hint this, and all of a sudden I just picked it up right after it was hinted, and now that's a hint wasted. So we chose to wait until we had a good amount of stuff like picked up, and then kind of went from there to try to figure out our routing.
Yeah, I can agree with that kind of routing decision making, especially when it comes to hints. I generally wait until about the 25 to 30 minute mark before I start hinting for anything, especially if I'm close to finishing. And then
Mhm.
play my hints off of based on what baddie needs. So there's that.
Yeah, totally fair. I think both of you were in approximately the same position when the hints started coming sort of fast and furious. We had that one initial hint from Mass, and then otherwise almost nothing until both of you were in sort of similar progression states when you started actually putting those hints out.
I almost hinted for jewelry box, but
I
I put
Yo,
me
Would've
away
been
from
worth
that.
it. Would've been worth it.
That's a mood.
I think we
Cool, well-
celebrated really hard when we found jewelry box.
yeah, you found it way early on too. That was pretty nice, good find. Well, I think that's about it from me. Zed, do you have anything else for these teams?
No, I said it in the race time room. This was incredible to watch. It was very impressive from both sides. I think a lot of this tournament is going to be information game. When do you start using your hints, and how effective are the hints at giving you a direction to move in?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it'll be fun to watch that evolve throughout the tournament.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, solid job to both teams. Hundo Runners, anything you want to say to chat? Any shoutouts? No is
Timespinner
perfectly
2?
acceptable. Yeah, make sure you go onto Steam and wishlist Timespinner 2 if you haven't already.
That was gonna be my shout out. How dare you?
It's okay. When we get to you, you can do it again.
But yeah, Tom Berry, you got anything?
Wishlist Timespinner 2.
Absolutely.
Warehouse Jesus, anything from you?
I mean, I could play the meme that I was messing with Raiden. It's just like, happy affiliate anniversary, Lord Raiden.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And Lord Raiden, any shoutouts?
No shoutouts. But GG's to the other
GG.
team. It was fun.
Yeah, GG's to everybody.
GG's.
Interesting seed. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I don't really have much more to say here. We've talked about sort of upcoming tournament matches, which is definitely the most important part. So Zed, take us out.
Well, thank you for being my co-commentator for this match. It's a lot to take.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
It's a lot to track. So thank you a lot, Jim the Eternal on Twitch.tv.
Sorry, I forgot one thing. Thanks, Zed, for putting that layout together and all the cropping.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good layout.
Yeah, let's all take a second to appreciate Zed for running this restream. Without you, we would not have a significant portion of this tournament.
It's my pleasure. I love this community, so it's not a huge issue. But I appreciate it. And with that, please everyone take care. Wish Timespinner 2, and I'll see you the next restream, probably.
Take care, everybody.